Captain James Walker stood at attention in the United Nations Grand Assembly Hall, his military uniform crisp despite the sweat threatening to break through. Above the gathered world leaders, a massive holographic display showed the alien ship that had parked itself in high Earth orbit just 24 hours ago. The ship belonged to what called themselves the High Council, an advanced alien federation that had finally decided Earth was worthy of contact. Or rather, as Walker was quickly learning, worthy of their mockery. And this, the tall, silvery being named High Counselor Rax said, gesturing at images of Earth's most advanced spacecraft, is what you call a warship. A ripple of clicking sounds, alien laughter, spread through the delegation. Walker clenched his jaw but maintained his professional demeanor. The alien was pointing at the pride of Earth's space fleet, the UES Defender, a nuclear-powered vessel that had taken 15 years to build. Yes, High Counselor, Walker replied evenly. That is our most advanced military vessel. Another burst of clicking laughter. How quaint. It doesn't even have basic gravity manipulation. Do your warriors float around inside like primitive spacemen? The world leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some looked angry, others embarrassed. A few seemed resigned. This had been going on for hours, the aliens systematically picking apart every human achievement, treating them like children who had just learned to stack blocks. We manage, High Counselor, Walker responded diplomatically. In his earpiece, he could hear mission control reminding him to stay calm, to play along. Everything depended on maintaining the facade. Rax moved on to images of Earth's cities. At least you've mastered basic electricity, the alien said condescendingly. Though your power generation methods are laughably inefficient, and these buildings, do you really still use concrete and steel? How have you survived this long? Walker thought about the facility on Mars, about what was hidden there. He thought about the real reason he'd been chosen for this role, not because he was Earth's best diplomat, but because he was its best actor. We do what we can with what we have, High Counselor, he said humbly. We hope the High Council can help us advance. Rax's large, multifaceted eyes gleamed. Oh, we intend to. Your planet has resources we find useful. In exchange for these resources, we will graciously guide your species into a more civilized state. Under our direct supervision, of course. The alien turned to address the assembly directly. Your primitive nuclear weapons have been noted. They pose no threat to us, but we appreciate the attempt at having a defensive capability. To demonstrate our good faith, we will allow you to maintain a small arsenal, under our oversight, naturally. Walker saw several military officials tense at this. The aliens hadn't just been scanning Earth's surface. They'd been doing deep scans, looking at everything, or at least everything they could find with their sensors. That is most generous, Walker said, bowing slightly. We look forward to learning from the High Council's wisdom. Rax seemed pleased by the submission. You are learning already. Perhaps there is hope for your species. We will begin integration immediately. Our ships will establish bases on your moon and the red planet you call Mars. These will serve as monitoring stations to oversee your development. At the mention of Mars, Walker felt his pulse quicken, but his face remained impassive. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment. The aliens thought they were being thorough, thought they had humanity figured out. Their arrogance was exactly what Earth had been counting on. Of course, High Counselor, Walker said, Mars is yours to explore. As the aliens continued their presentation of how they would help humanity advance, Walker thought about the massive cavern deep beneath Mars' surface, about the project that had consumed the resources of every major nation for 2 decades. He thought about what was waiting there, in the darkness. Let them laugh, he thought. They won't be laughing much longer. 20 years earlier, in a dimly lit control room deep beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Anna Miller stared at her computer screen in disbelief. The images coming from the deep space probe told an impossible story. Admiral Reed, she called out, her voice shaking. You need to see this. Admiral Thomas Reed walked over, his weathered face illuminated by the screen's blue glow. On the display, hidden in the darkness of the Kuiper Belt, was something that shouldn't exist. An enormous ship of clearly artificial origin. "How long has it been there?" Reed asked quietly. Based on the mineral buildup and radiation patterns, Miller replied, "At least 10,000 years. That discovery changed everything." Within hours, every major world leader received the same coded message. Project Phoenix is go. Like a well-rehearsed dance, the world's governments moved in perfect synchronization. They had planned for this moment, had protocols in place since the first hints of anomalous readings from deep space. The ship was ancient, dead, and massive, nearly 5 miles long. Moving it without detection took 2 years of careful planning. They couldn't risk bringing it closer to Earth. Too many amateur astronomers might spot it. Instead, they chose Mars. On the dark side of Mars, beneath the surface of a crater that never saw sunlight, they built the largest underground facility in human history. The excavation alone took 5 years, with robots working day and night, powered by hidden nuclear reactors. Dr. Miller spent countless nights studying the alien ship's technology. "It's like looking at magic," she told Reed one evening, gesturing at the holographic displays they'd finally managed to activate. "Their power source alone is centuries beyond us. But we're learning." Reed nodded, looking at the massive construction bay where Earth's secret weapon was taking shape. "How long until it's ready?" "The HMS Phoenix will be complete in 15 years, Miller answered. "We're not just copying their technology, we're improving it. Their systems are ancient. We're building something better." The project consumed resources on an unprecedented scale. Every nation contributed in secret, funneling materials and their brightest minds to Mars through a complex web of cover stories and fake projects. The public saw new sports stadiums being built while the steel went to Mars. They watched documentary shows about deep-sea research vessels that didn't exist, while those funds powered the Phoenix project. Walker, then a young lieutenant, remembered his first visit to the facility. The sheer scale of it had taken his breath away. Underground chambers large enough to hold small cities stretched for miles. The HMS Phoenix grew steadily, its hull gleaming under the artificial lights. "Will it be enough?" he had asked Miller. She smiled, pointing to a bank of computers running simulations. The original ship was a warship, but it was built to fight enemies they knew. "We're building ours to fight enemies we can only imagine. We're not taking chances." Year after year, the work continued in absolute secrecy. Nuclear reactors were built and hidden beneath Mars' surface. Crews trained in simulators, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. The greatest minds on Earth worked together with a single purpose: to ensure humanity's survival. And now, 20 years later, as Walker stood before the arrogant High Council, he knew every sacrifice had been worth it. Every sleepless night, every diverted resource, every lie told to protect the secret. It had all led to this moment. In the darkness beneath Mars' surface, the HMS Phoenix waited. Its power systems hummed quietly, its weapons ready, its shields tested and perfect. Soon, very soon, the High Council would learn that humanity wasn't as defenseless as they thought. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The aliens had no idea what they were about to unleash. 3 months after first contact, humanity's patience was wearing thin. The High Council's integration of Earth had quickly turned into something closer to occupation. Walker stood at the window of his office in the UN building, watching an alien shuttle descend toward New York's newly constructed Cultural Exchange Center. The massive building had been demanded by the High Council and built with Earth's resources, one of many such gifts they had been forced to provide. His computer chimed with another list of demands from the aliens. This time they wanted control of all orbital satellite operations. For security purposes, they claimed. Walker's fists clenched as he read the message. "Captain," his assistant called from the doorway. "The lunar colony is reporting problems." Of course they were. The High Council had established an oversight base on the moon last week. Since then, the human colonists had faced endless restrictions on their movements and activities. "What is it this time?" Walker asked, already knowing it wouldn't be good news. "The aliens are demanding access to our water recycling facilities. They say our methods are dangerously primitive and need their supervision." Walker nodded tiredly. It was the same pattern everywhere. First, they would demand access to inspect. Then they would declare human methods insufficient. Finally, they would take control for everyone's safety. His secure phone buzzed, the one connected to the hidden quantum network that the aliens couldn't detect. A message from Mars scrolled across its screen. "Lunar water facilities contain Phoenix backup data nodes. Cannot allow alien access." The stakes kept getting higher. Humanity had hidden pieces of Project Phoenix throughout the solar system, disguised as ordinary infrastructure. Each new alien demand risked exposing their secret. In the main conference room down the hall, the world's leaders were gathering for an emergency session. Walker hurried to join them, nodding to the guards who checked his credentials. These meetings had become more frequent as the situation deteriorated. "They're stripping Earth's resources piece by piece," the Russian president was saying as Walker entered. "Their latest demand is for control of our Siberian mining operations." "Sane in Australia," another leader added. "They've declared our uranium mines unsafe and want to take over." Admiral Reed, now older but still commanding respect, stood up. "It's getting worse. Their scans are becoming more detailed. They're starting to ask questions about our power consumption numbers not matching their estimates." That got everyone's attention. Earth had been burning extra power for years, hiding the massive energy demands of the Mars facility. If the aliens figured that out, what about the Phoenix? Someone asked. "Is it ready?" Dr. Miller, joining via secure video link from Mars, nodded. "The ship is fully operational. We've completed all testing. But once we reveal it, there's no going back. The High Council will know we've been lying to them from the start." Walker stepped forward. "They're already suspicious. Yesterday, High Counselor Rax mentioned that our technology was advancing unusually fast under their supervision. They're starting to notice the gaps in our story." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They had hoped to keep the Phoenix hidden longer, to learn more about their adversaries before showing their hand. But events were forcing their timeline. "They're planning something big," Walker continued. "Their flagship is coming to Earth next week for what they're calling a ceremonial integration. They want to broadcast it across their entire Federation." Reed's eyes narrowed. "They want to show the galaxy how they conquered Earth without firing a shot." The Chinese premier stood up. "Then perhaps it's time to show them. And the galaxy something else instead." Around the room, heads nodded in agreement. The breaking point had been reached. After 20 years of secrecy, after months of enduring the High Council's arrogance, humanity had had enough. Walker smiled grimly. The time for hiding was over. Soon, the HMS Phoenix would rise. The High Council's flagship hung in Earth's orbit like a silver dagger, its massive hull gleaming in the sunlight. At 15 miles long, it dwarfed every human spacecraft in view. Smaller alien ships surrounded it, positioning themselves for the upcoming broadcast. In the flagship's grand ceremony hall, Walker stood with Earth's leaders, watching High Counselor Rax prepare for his big moment. The alien leader had dressed in elaborate ceremonial robes for the occasion, his metallic scales polished to a mirror shine. Today, Rax announced to the gathered cameras, "We welcome humanity fully into our Federation. Their primitive but promising species will now benefit from our direct guidance and control." Walker checked his secure phone one last time. A single message waited, "Phoenix ready." He smiled slightly, remembering Dr. Miller's words during their final preparation. "Let them have their show. We'll just add a surprise ending." Rax continued his speech, his voice broadcasting to billions across the galaxy. "We have achieved this integration peacefully, proving once again the superiority of our methods. Earth's resources and people will now serve the greater good of the Federation. The alien leader gestured to the view screen showing Earth below. See how they accepted our wisdom. Their primitive weapons remain safely powered down. Their leaders stand here in submission. This is how superior beings conduct. A low rumble interrupted him. The alien ship's sensors began blaring alerts. High Counselor, one of the alien officers called out, "We're detecting a massive energy spike from Mars." Rax turned to Walker, his massive eyes narrowing. "Explain this." Walker stepped forward, standing straight and proud. "Oh, that's just humanity's submission gift to the Federation. We thought you might want to see it." On the view screens, the dark side of Mars had begun to glow. Massive doors, previously hidden beneath the red planet's surface, slowly opened. Energy readings spiked off the aliens' charts as something enormous rose from the depths. The HMS Phoenix emerged into space like a legend coming to life. Its hull, nearly 20 miles long, dwarfed even the High Council flagship. Crafted from materials reverse-engineered from ancient technology, but enhanced by human innovation, it gleamed with power that made the alien sensors scramble in confusion. "Impossible," Rax whispered. "Your species. You're primitives. You don't have this technology. Our scans. Your scans showed exactly what we wanted them to show," Walker replied calmly. "We've had 20 years to prepare for this moment. 20 years to build something that could protect Earth from any threat, including you." The Phoenix's engines flared to life, its massive form moving with impossible grace for its size. Around its hull, energy shields flickered with colors the aliens had never seen before, displaying defensive capabilities beyond even their understanding. That's ancient technology," one of the alien scientists gasped, staring at his readings. "But improved, modified. How did you?" "Humanity has a talent for improvement," Walker said, allowing himself to enjoy their shock. "We found something interesting out in the Kuiper Belt. Instead of trying to contact you immediately, we decided to study it first. I hope you don't mind." The Phoenix took up position between Earth and the alien fleet, its weapon systems humming to life. The size difference between it and the alien ships was staggering, like comparing rowboats to an aircraft carrier. "Still think we're primitive?" Walker asked Rax, whose scales had lost their shine. "Because we'd love to demonstrate some of our improvements to your entire Federation." "You're still broadcasting, right?" On screens across the galaxy, countless alien species watched as humanity revealed its true power. The broadcast was indeed still running, showing exactly what Earth had planned for it to show. The time for pretending to be weak was over. The Phoenix had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. High Counselor Rax paced the ceremonial hall of his flagship, his claws clicking nervously against the metal floor. Every few seconds, his eyes darted to the massive view screen where the HMS Phoenix loomed, its enormous form blocking out the stars. "Impossible," he muttered for the 10th time. "Your power readings, they're beyond anything in known space." Walker watched the alien leader's composure crumble with quiet satisfaction. Around them, the alien crew worked frantically at their stations, running scan after scan on the human vessel. "Would you like a demonstration?" Walker asked calmly. "Dr. Miller has been eager to show off some of our improvements to the original design." On cue, the Phoenix's outer hull began to shimmer. Panels that had seemed solid became transparent, revealing layer after layer of technology that made the alien scientists gasp in disbelief. "That's a quantum shield matrix," one alien officer exclaimed. "But it's at least 5 generations more advanced than ours." 7 generations, actually, Walker corrected. "We found the original designs a bit outdated." "Dr. Miller, would you like to explain some of our upgrades?" Dr. Miller's voice came through clearly on the command channel, carrying a hint of pride. "The original ship we found used standard energy deflection shields. We thought that was inefficient. Our version creates localized pockets of altered spacetime. Weapons don't just bounce off. They never actually reach the ship. The Phoenix demonstrated by firing a small energy pulse at itself. The pulse didn't deflect or explode. It simply ceased to exist as the shield absorbed it into a pocket of twisted space. "That's wrong," another alien scientist protested. "That technology is theoretical. Even our most advanced researchers couldn't figure it out." Miller finished. "Maybe you should have tried thinking outside your carefully organized box of scientific principles. Humans are quite good at that." Walker turned to Rax, who had finally stopped pacing. "Would you like to see the weapon systems next? We've made some interesting modifications there too." "Wait." Rax held up his hands. Perhaps we should discuss this situation more diplomatically." "Now you want diplomacy?" Walker raised an eyebrow. "What happened to all that talk about primitive species and superior beings?" The Phoenix's weapon ports opened, revealing arrays of technology that made the alien sensors short out. The ship's main gun alone was the size of the alien flagship. "Our weapons division got creative," Walker explained. "They took the original ship's standard plasma cannons and asked themselves, why stop there? The gun you're looking at doesn't fire energy or projectiles. It fires microscopic artificial singularities. Would you like to see what that does to an asteroid?" "That won't be necessary," Rax said quickly. The other aliens had backed away from their windows, staring at the Phoenix with a mixture of fear and awe. Walker nodded to the Earth leaders, who had watched the entire exchange with satisfied smiles. "Then perhaps we should discuss new terms for humanity's relationship with your Federation. Terms that don't involve words like primitive or submission." Of course, Rax agreed. His earlier arrogance completely evaporated. "We should establish a more equal partnership." "Equal?" Walker smiled. "High Counselor, look at your sensors again. Look at what we achieved while you thought we were struggling with basic spaceflight. Are you sure equal is the word you want to use?" The alien leader swallowed hard, looking at the Phoenix's imposing form. In just a few minutes, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted dramatically. The High Council's most advanced ships looked like toys compared to humanity's creation. "Now then," Walker said, sitting down at the conference table, "let's talk about those resource appropriation demands of yours. I believe we have some amendments to suggest." High Counselor Rax's surrender didn't last long. As the Phoenix's demonstration ended, alert signals blared across every ship in orbit. Hundreds of new contacts appeared on the radar screens, emerging from faster-than-light travel. "The High Council's main battle fleet," Rax announced, his confidence returning. "I took the liberty of calling them before this ceremony, just in case Earth proved difficult." Walker watched calmly as over 300 alien warships appeared around Earth's orbit. Each one was nearly the size of Rax's flagship, their weapons already powering up. "Last chance, humans," Rax said. "Submit, or we'll show you what real warships can do." Walker tapped his communicator. "Admiral Reed, they brought friends. Should we show them ours?" On the main screen, the Phoenix's massive form began to move. But it wasn't alone. All across the dark side of Mars, more hidden doors began to open. From deep underground bunkers, from hidden asteroid bases, from camouflaged stations in Jupiter's rings, humanity's true fleet emerged. 5 more ships, each as large as the Phoenix, rose into view. Their designs were slightly different, each one specialized for a specific role in combat. Following them came dozens of smaller but equally advanced vessels, taking up formation around their larger siblings. "Did you think we spent 20 years building just one ship?" Walker asked the stunned alien leader. "Dr. Miller, would you like to introduce our fleet?" Dr. Miller's voice came through clearly. "The Phoenix is our flagship, but meet her sisters. The HMS Thunder, specializing in electronic warfare. The HMS Storm, our heavy weapons platform. The HMS Lightning, our fastest ship with the best shields. The HMS Hurricane, designed for ship-to-ship combat. And the HMS Tempest, our stealth and infiltration vessel." The alien fleet faltered, their neat formation wavering as they processed the sight before them. What they had thought would be an easy show of force had turned into something very different. Impossible, one of the alien admirals muttered. The resources needed, the technology required. 20 years is a long time when an entire planet works together in secret, Walker explained. Every nation contributed. While you saw us building sports stadiums, we were actually constructing ships. While you monitored our primitive satellites, we were testing weapons in the Oort cloud. The alien fleet launched their first attack, a massive barrage of plasma torpedoes. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. Their advanced shields absorbed the energy, using it to power up their own weapons. Admiral Reed, Walker said into his communicator, they seem eager to test our fleet. Permission to demonstrate. Granted, Reed's voice replied. Show them what humanity can do. What followed was unlike any space battle the galaxy had ever seen. The HMS Thunder shut down half the alien fleet's systems with electronic warfare far beyond their understanding. The HMS Storm's weapons opened localized holes in spacetime, swallowing entire enemy ships. The HMS Lightning moved so fast, it seemed to be in multiple places at once. The HMS Hurricane engaged in close combat, its advanced point defense systems making it untouchable, while its weapons torn through alien shields like paper. Meanwhile, the HMS Tempest simply vanished from all sensors, reappearing inside the alien formation to cause chaos. And the Phoenix, the pride of humanity's fleet, coordinated it all. Its advanced AI systems, quantum computers, and hybrid human-alien technology allowed it to process battlefield information faster than any organic mind could manage. Still think we're primitive? Walker asked Rax, who watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically taken apart. We found one ancient ship and turned it into this. Imagine what we'll do next. Within an hour, it was over. The might of the High Council's main battle fleet lay in ruins, disabled but mostly intact. Humanity had been careful not to cause unnecessary deaths. The message was clear. Earth wasn't just ready to join the galactic community. It was ready to lead it. 1 month after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was a very different place. The Grand Meeting Hall of the High Council, once a place where advanced civilizations looked down upon primitive species, had been transformed. Today, it would witness something unprecedented. Walker stood at the center of the hall, wearing a new uniform designed specifically for Earth's first galactic ambassador. Around him, representatives from hundreds of alien species watched with a mixture of fear, respect, and curiosity. The news of how humanity had outmaneuvered and outfought the High Council had spread far and wide. The terms are simple, Walker announced to the gathered assembly. Earth will share its technological advances with the Federation. In return, the old system of ranking and classifying species ends today. Former High Counselor Rax, now serving as just one voice among many, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. And if we refuse? Dr. Miller, standing beside Walker, smiled. She activated a holographic display showing the HMS Phoenix and its sister ships. Then we'll keep these advances to ourselves. Tell me, how many of your worlds would stay loyal to the old High Council when they learn that Earth alone possesses shields that can bend spacetime, or weapons that can disable ships without destroying them? The assembly erupted in discussion. In the month since the battle, Earth had received countless messages from worlds seeking alliances, trade agreements, and technological exchanges. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. We don't want to rule, Walker continued. Humanity has no interest in building an empire. What we want is cooperation. Real cooperation, not the false hierarchy that existed before. Admiral Reed stepped forward, his aged face carrying the wisdom of someone who had guided humanity's greatest secret project. We hid our capabilities because we needed to be sure of ourselves first. Now we're ready to work together, as equals. The Phoenix appeared on the main view screen, but this time it was different. Its hull had been modified, showing symbols and writing from dozens of alien cultures alongside human languages. It was no longer just Earth's defender. It had become a symbol of a new era. Our first joint project, Miller explained, will be building a new type of ship, one that combines the best aspects of all our cultures. The Phoenix taught us that we could improve upon ancient technology. Imagine what we could achieve if we all worked together. The assembly hall filled with excited chatter. Scientists from various species were already discussing possibilities, sharing ideas that would have been forbidden under the old system. The rigid barriers between advanced and primitive species were crumbling. There will be challenges, Walker acknowledged. Change isn't easy. But Earth has already proven that seeming impossible things can be achieved when we work together in secret. Imagine what we can do when we work together openly. One by one, the representatives stood to pledge their support. Even former High Council members, seeing the way the wind was blowing, joined in. The age of artificial hierarchies was ending. In Earth orbit, the Phoenix and its sister ships maintained their vigilant watch, but their presence now symbolized protection rather than threat. Smaller vessels from various species approached to study them, each granted permission to learn and share in return. 20 years ago, Walker said to Miller as they watched the proceedings, "We found one abandoned ship and turned it into a fleet that changed the galaxy. What do you think we'll achieve in the next 20 years?" Miller smiled, already working on new designs in her mind. With the whole galaxy working together, the possibilities are endless. The sun rose over Earth, its light reflecting off the hulls of ships from 100 worlds. Humanity had kept its secret, revealed its strength, and changed the course of galactic history. But their greatest achievements still lay ahead, in a future where no species would ever again be dismissed as primitive. The Phoenix had risen, and with it, a new age had dawned.